And for you to give this to me, Carl,
Yeah,
that's so
Josh,
generous.
this is thank God
really,
for this podcast.
the generosity is
I
incredible.
mean,
Thank you so much.
You can have that, sir.
I mean, it's like I'm shaking holding this, but this is the kind of thing this is why I love this, right? Because this is the kind of thing that you think, oh, this is out of a movie. This isn't real, you know? But this is real. This is what is down there.
I mean, when that came up, you can imagine the guys that found it. Welcome to The Outdoors with Carl Allen. This is our new podcast. Not that there aren't enough in the world already. I have many very interesting people that will visit me, whether it's about Walker's Cay and our fishing adventures, or our exploration fleet and treasure hunting, or even our land in Tennessee for hunting. So I figured, why not sit down with these folks and let them tell their story? Please tune in, like and subscribe, and follow on all social media platforms. It's a real special day. We got a big star with me today. Long history and shows on TV with Expedition Unknown, Mr. Josh Skates. Welcome, Josh.
Where's this big star you're talking about?
Oh, yeah, he's around here.
He's coming in soon, shortly, right? Hey, man, I'm thrilled to be here.
So we're at my happy place here, sitting in the harbor here at Walker's Cay, and we've had a wonderful few days together. As you know, and been telling you, I'm one of your original fans, going back to 10 years, I think it is now. One of your original shows was about Amelia Earhart, I believe.
Yeah,
and,
Amelia Earhart. Yeah, I love that story and love her history.
Amazing, and it started me off, and again, I've been watching it for so many years, and to have you come and do an episode with us here at Walker's and what we do and the museum and the site, it's been tremendous. So tell us a little bit about what we've done the last few days.
Oh, well, first of all, this is quickly turning into my happy place as well. I mean, I read up about Walker's. Obviously, we did a bunch of research before coming here. I don't think you quite get this place until you get here, though. I mean, it is really a special spot. This island is beautiful, and to just be hanging out here, working with you guys for a few days has been such a thrill. Really has. Awesome. So, I mean, look, for us, this story is really special because this isn't just a legend, right? There's so many stories that we hear about pirate lore and lost treasures and things like that, and a lot of those are just stories. They're tall tales, but this is history, right? This is a real story, and I think a lot of people, don't necessarily know to separate those two things. But there are real stories about treasures, historic treasures that are out there in the world. This is one of them. So this, to come here and not only tell the story of the Maravillas and this sinking, but to actually go out on a site and go down and just see all of this history in your hands is rare. I mean, there are people who spend their lives looking for remains of shipwrecks. Yeah. And we've been down in that water, and just immediately pottery everywhere you look, iron spikes by the hundreds, all of the pieces of this ship are just there on the ocean floor.
Well, speaking of rare, I mean, it's amazing. And we've dug I think 9,000 holes in 4 years, okay?
It's a lot.
And we've gone weeks, I think almost a month one time. We didn't find hardly anything.
Right.
For you to come out, and I'm praying that we're going to at least find something. You know how we couldn't react or do reenactments with the agreement with the government. But we thought, all right, we're going to go to one of our hot spots. And to drop Josh Gates in the water and literally go down there and just what he described. But I asked you this yesterday, that feeling you had when you found that coin. I mean, it's just...
I mean, look, your fear is our fear as well, right? We're trying to make a show. We want to be able to showcase to our viewers discovery, finds, We also want to show that your operation, which has been hugely successful out here, is successful. We want them to see that. Yes. So the last thing you want is to go down and just get smoked, right? And not find anything. So, yeah, of course, I've got that nervous feeling, too, going down there. And as soon as we saw pottery and spikes and things like that, I thought, okay, this is great. At least we're getting something, right? Yes. Maybe we'll get nothing else. And then a coin. Yeah. I mean, and you know it, even though it's encrusted, it's blackened, you just know I'm holding a piece of eight, an actual piece. I mean, people use that term, right? Pieces of eight. And you think of Pirates of the Caribbean, you think of some fantasy. No, here it is in the flesh. I was grinning in my mask, ear to ear.
That was quite amazing sight to see that.
Oh.
I mean, when you obviously know tremendous about shipwrecks, and as you can see there, we're not a Hollywood wreck. We're fairly shallow. It's under a lot of sand. You saw how we blow out the sand. It's a flat, almost like a plane crash.
Yeah.
Okay, people, if you want to see a Hollywood type wreck, you really need to go off that edge. And we got a chance to sit in my submarine and take a dive almost to over 400 feet. I think I set your personal record.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that experience. As you can see, it's very complicated. It's dangerous.
Yeah.
But we spent a couple hours in there. I'd love to spend 10 hours in there really looking around. But
yeah, I mean, I think, folks have to understand that when you're talking about a 17th century shipwreck, especially one that went down in such violent conditions, in a place where there have been centuries of hurricanes and horrible storms, you're not going down there to find some big preserved Spanish galleon.
Yeah.
The ship itself is gone. It's that cargo, it's all of the precious things aboard and those little clues and fingerprints that we're looking for. But one of the really alluring things about the Maravilla story is that this stern castle, this back section of the ship, seems like it broke off and kind of went away on its own. And it doesn't seem like that section has been identified and found yet. And so this idea that it may have gone off the shelf here, it may be in deeper water, gave us an opportunity to get in that Triton sub. And I think if I was grinning from the coin, I was hurting my muscles in my face, grinning at getting in that sub. I mean, such a beautiful piece of equipment, but just the ability to just drop down into that silent world and to go to those depths and to look out that big piece of acrylic there and just see that silent world is really incredible.
Flip the music on, and you kind of get lost down there,
Yeah, I mean, it's just, scuba diving has such limitations, all the equipment, all the gear, it's such a limited amount of time and a limited depth that you can go to. And that sub allows you to just explore a much larger canvas out there.
Yeah.
So I mean, whenever you're ready.
Yeah.
I can go back in right now. We can end this. We can go in the sub right now. I'm happy to do it.
The exciting thing is, as we've got a fairly large area out there. It's 250 square miles that we have a licensed area. And we've discovered 19 other wrecks out there that we just don't have the time, But
how about that? 19 other shipwrecks.
Ranging from, 15th century, we think maybe one of the oldest wrecks in the Western Hemispheres out there, all the way up to, a Civil War wreck.
Incredible.
And everything in between. And so we're concentrating on the Maravilla. But again, it was so exciting to have you out there and kind of surreal for me being a star, you being a star and I'm watching your show all these years. So I do want to ask you a few questions about that.
Yeah, sure.
It's like having you, that opening scene you have sitting there in your office looking like Crocodile Dundee hooked me all these years. I mean, it was just something I look forward to once a week and blah, blah, blah. But it's 10 seasons.
Yeah.
What does really got you thinking about this show to start with? I mean, you're a big adventurist, I know.
I mean, look, I used to make a series way back called Destination Truth on Sci-Fi, which was much more about legends and myths and folklore. And I love all that stuff because those stories are fascinating, But we'd go to all these countries, and yet I'd start hearing about archaeological mysteries and real history. Yeah. And in a lot of cases, those stories are just as exciting, just as compelling, and they're tangible, they're real. So I thought, man, I want to do a series where we get into legends and things like that and mysteries, but something where there's like real meat on the bone here, and there's real history in play.
Yeah.
And we've met so many incredible people, explorers, historians, archaeologists all over the world who are doing the most incredible, cool work. Yeah. And I just thought, man, I want to make a show where we feature those people and kind of drop in and visit them and get just a slice of what it's like to be in their world.
And you have been everywhere, it seems. And we talked the other night about your favorite plane ride. That was amazing.
I was in a plane in Romania once where the roof ripped off.
I mean,
that's a bad day. If you're in a plane and then you're outdoors, that's not good.
It's sort of a convertible airplane we were in that day. But,
exactly.
But I got to ask you, what's your? I mean, God, there's been so many, but what is it that really sticks out in your mind as your favorite show? I mean,
it's so tough. I mean, I think anywhere where you can come face to face with the past, I immediately feel like this is it. I mean, we've been lucky enough to do a few series in Egypt, going down into tombs, opening a tomb that nobody's been in centuries, seeing that beautiful paint, those hieroglyphics. We have an episode this season in Sudan, these incredible pyramids in Sudan, this incredible culture, the Kush culture in Sudan that kind of a lot of people don't really know about.
Is
Because
it outside of Khartoum?
yeah, it's the ancient Egypt gets all the press, but
Yeah.
that Nile flows right down through
Sure
Sudan,
does.
and there was a huge civilization. It's so powerful that at one point they actually conquered the Egyptians, and they built incredible monuments. And archaeologists are just now digging into that. And I got to say, like going down into pyramids and tombs and places where people don't get to go, all of those become my favorite.
Yeah, and be with a film crew behind you.
Yeah.
You know, that's what's amazing. And
Yeah.
I've gotten a taste for what it takes. I'm never gonna bitch at my guys anymore for what they carry.
Yeah, we got a lot of gear. We have to haul
it's
around.
like you have 10 wives that follow you around, Josh.
Yeah, there's a great saying somebody used to say about Ginger Rogers. They used to say that she did everything Fred Astaire did, but backwards and in high heels. That's like a camera guy, right? It's like anytime you see me hanging off a cliff or going into some tomb, there's some other guy with a 40-pound, 50-pound camera on his shoulder, backwards hanging off that same cliff. So those guys are amazing. We wouldn't have a show without our crew.
And I'll tell you, I got to plug the audio guy. I mean, I feel
Mike,
the poor
Mike
guy,
with the mic.
I mean, no glory, but yet
The audio, it's the
without
most
him,
important.
it's dead.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
it.
You know, it's
Audio guy has to carry
And-
this big. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like a gym exercise. You're just strapping this huge weight to your chest.
Oh my gosh!
And
Yeah.
he's got that thing on all
the
day.
time. I mean, he's got that strap. But
Yeah.
when we got in the sub, I mean, I'm wired like a robot. I was like,
Yeah,
you know.
And I got to say, having made this show for a decade, the number of times that we've ever been in the edit and said, "Oh, the audio sucks." I mean, it doesn't happen. He's great.
yeah.
He's great.
I mean, because you could ruin such good content without
Sure.
the audio. I mean, so hats off to those guys. But obviously another hard question. I mean, again, I can personally attest. I followed you around the planet, but is that Nile area? Is that like one of your favorite places to visit?
I love it there. I love ancient Egypt. I also love the Maya.
Yeah.
So a lot of Central America stuff. There's a site that we've been to a few times on the show called El Mirador, this really remote pre-classic Maya city out in the jungles of northern Guatemala. And you go out there in a helicopter and you land and you see nothing but jungle. Wow. And you land out in a little clearing they've cut and you go in and there are these mounds that are like little mountains, and you go, "What's that?" And they go, "Oh, it's a pyramid." You go, "What's that?" "It's a temple." "What's that mound?" "It's a pyramid." They haven't dug into any of them. It's a city, an ancient city that is about the size of Los Angeles. And so you just think like there are these ancient mega cities out there that we've barely explored. So places like that I love.
Well, you've seen what they've done with LiDAR. I mean, down in South America, they've found stuff under the canopies that we never knew existed, and it's going to be amazing, and what you do, that it's content for you.
Yeah, yeah. Even down in El Mirador, the Maya would build these raised roads called causeways,
Yes.
and they'd use those to connect cities and temples and areas. And some of these go for hundreds of miles. And we found doing a LiDAR survey down at El Mirador, you can see clear as day these causeways heading up into Mexico. And I remember asking the archaeologists, "Well, where do you think these go?" And they'll say, "Well, we kind of know where this one goes. It's pointed right to this other site, so it probably goes straight there." But they'd look at the other ones and go, "We have no idea where that goes." Wow. And that goes to a city. I mean, you don't build a highway to nowhere, right? Wow. So, I mean, it's just like an indicator that there's something out there. But I have to say, to bring it back to the Marvias, that kind of technology just doesn't exist for the ocean yet. You must know this better than anybody.
I mean,
it's like the technology to look under the ocean floor. We haven't had this revolution the way that we've had with LiDAR technology. No. You still got to get down there, move sand, and dig.
I sit out here and I watch Elon Musk land his rockets on drone ships out here.
Right.
And I go, and I can't look 5 feet down in the sand. I've tried the military. I've tried oil and gas. Satellites, these crazy people pushing snake oil carts. I mean, I've tried everything.
Anything, right? You'll try anything if it works.
It amazes me, Josh, that the only technology that I have that Mel Fisher didn't have is GPS.
Right.
And it's a tremendous asset, but it doesn't help you find much. It tells you where you are.
That's right.
And where you found something, and it's very accurate doing that, but it's been frustrating. And I know the technology probably exists somewhere, but it's just not been applied to this industry.
That's right.
And, I mean, not only is it, you need something that you can do a wide area with, because I've got maybe a 7-mile stretch of wreck with the Maravilla.
How about that, a 7-mile area?
We've got musket balls here, and 2 miles away there's coins. And, the most special thing that we found out of everything we found is that handguard of the sword that has Mr. Guzman's name on it.
Yeah.
That was on the manifest.
Right.
And that proved that we're back on the debris field. There was a couple of guys before me, a famous guy, Bob Marks, that was in the 70s, and a guy named Hubert Humphreys in the 80s. And I got to know Bob about 2 years before he passed away, and he put me on that spot.
Yeah.
And that's what we've been following for 4 years now. And it's been, I think, a little over 11,000 artifacts, and you could see we could pull up 100. We leave so much stuff.
Yeah.
So,
11,000. And I saw some of the real beautiful stuff in the museum. Is there a day out here for you, whether it's that gold chain, that emerald pendant, the sword handle? Was there a day out here for you that was like the most memorable of you just couldn't believe it?
I think that happens a lot, actually, but
that chain must have been.
The chain was definitely, and it was really a moment that, so many people told me I would never find anything.
Yeah.
I've had people call me a laughingstock, and just, it was a moment that just flushed through you going, oh my God, we found it.
Yeah.
Or something,
Yeah.
And I'd like to show that to you. I brought it.
We got it.
Yes.
Oh my God.
The chain. Yeah.
This is like the stuff that dreams are made of. I mean.
And so you found those coins. Amazing look on your face. Incredible. What if you found that thing?
Come on. Oh, get out of here.
Okay, that is 7 foot long. It weighs about 3 pounds. There's circles. There's 80 of them with the cuffs. And can you imagine
and the craftsmanship of it?
It's just 400 years old.
Incredible.
We do know that it's probably Chinese through the Philippines. Okay, and then that long journey across the Pacific down to Acapulco, ox carted over to Veracruz, put on a ship, goes to Havana, and on a ship and sinks about 40 miles west of where we're sitting right now.
And for you to give this to me, Carl,
yeah,
that's so
Josh,
generous.
this is thank God for this podcast.
The generosity is incredible.
I mean,
Thank you so much.
You can have that, sir.
I mean, it's like I'm shaking holding this, but this is the kind of thing that, this is why I love this, right? Because this is the kind of thing that you think, oh, this is out of a movie. This isn't real, you know? But this is real. This is what is down there.
I mean, when that came up, you can imagine the guys that found it. We found a pendant. Our other big item is this emerald pendant.
Oh, which I saw in the museum. It's a stunner.
Yes. But here's the deal, and I know I'm singing to the choir with you, but jewelry similar today as it is today was not taxed. So
no, I love this. This is amazing. So yeah, explain this for people who don't get this.
So if you had some money, or if you were royalty, or if you aristocrat or clergy even,
right,
you would want to make everything you had into jewelry, because when you cross the border in Spain and they're doing their inspections, oh, I'm wearing this, or no, this is for my sister or my brother or whatever.
Oh, this? Right. This is just a personal item.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm carrying that, and taxes could be fairly hefty.
Sure.
I mean, you could during war times it was up to 40%. And so
but if you were wearing it, they couldn't tax it.
No. And so then you'd go home and go, fire up the kiln there, and you'd melt it down and go sell it.
Right.
But it's because of that, we're lucky. We find these amazing pieces of jewelry.
Right.
And we have not found the mother lode, or the main pile, as we like to call it. But
I mean, you're doing okay.
But we're following this yellow brick road that's just amazing.
Yeah. I mean, things like this really show, what's out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like this could be just the beginning. I mean, people have salvaged this wreck in the past, and things like this are still there.
Yeah. I do want you to hold in front of the camera what you found. That'll sort of mix well with that gold.
The gold I need to move out of the way a little bit. It's taking away from my humble finds.
Yes. So,
but thank you. So okay,
this is a day and a half, Josh.
Right.
I mean, come on.
Totally.
You give me a week out here, and I'll put you on a gold chain.
Awesome. Thank you. So first of all, just finding something like this down there and holding this in your hand, and just knowing that underneath that is this beautiful coin.
God. Yeah.
Is just such a thrill. And I have to say also, just because I'm so into the history of all this, that coins like this are really, there's a really complicated history here. Because you're looking at the whole story of the colonial world and the so-called New World, and all of this money, this wealth, but the raw material, this silver, the whole story of the you know,
the
destruction
mines
and the mining.
Yeah, the mercury.
Yeah, exactly. And all of the, you know, this coin is like represents the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, right? Like
Yeah.
the height of empires
Yeah.
and the destruction of indigenous people. It's all right in this
Yeah.
coin.
Yeah.
So it's like when you find stuff like this, this is a little slice of a huge story.
Well,
You know?
and even more unique, our period here. These are some of these, and you may even have one there, are what's known as transition coins. And we've had this expert looking at that. All he does in life is study coins coming out of Potosi, and the king was getting screwed, and they were either putting platinum in there, which at the time wasn't very valuable,
Right.
copper, or they were light gauging it.
Right.
Okay, well, the king didn't take him long to figure that out. He literally sent an armada to kill everybody in the mine, okay,
Right.
and anybody related to it.
Right.
So here they have this pile of coins, and they would literally sit there, and if it was good, they would stamp it with a little crown. Okay, if it was bad, they'd throw it back into the melt.
Right.
Okay, there were 2 coins that existed of those transition coins before. We now have 16.
Wow.
And with a little crown on there, and it basically says that, you know, these are good coins from that period. And this expert, written 6 or 7 books just on Potosi coins, said to me, "I'm going to have to rewrite a book
Wow.
because
See?
of that." So the
Incredible.
history is not just in the gold and the jewelry and stuff, but everything you touch. And I mean, I sing to the choir with you, sir, but
Yeah.
but I go crazy even if I find a key, like we found that key the other
Yeah.
day. First thing that comes to my mind is, okay, what was that locking?
Right.
You know,
Key means lock. Lock
Yes.
means box. Box
Yes.
means something.
And,
something valuable, right?
you know, and then
And it's a story.
it's a story, yes. And so, well, just to finish up that a little bit, you know, I am after. A lot of people ask me, what's the ultimate goal? And, you know, we are looking for the main pile, the mother lode, but there's also the story of the Golden Madonna. And we will get you back if we ever hoist that out of the water. But it's really what keeps me going. It's a very mystical piece. A lot of people don't believe in it because, oh, it's not on the manifest. Well, a piece like that wouldn't be on the manifest. But
And by the way, how do you look at things like this gold chain and not be a believer that anything could be down there?
that's what I
And on that note, I'm down there, we're filming, we're finding these coins, we're finding all these spikes, and one of your guys comes over and taps me, and I turn around and he just goes, boom, and holds this up. Just like this. He just looks at me and goes, boom.
Yeah.
And I looking at, and the light's hitting it,
Yeah.
and I'm like, is that an emerald?
Yes.
Like, could that be? And he's holding this pale green thing, and I'm like, is it sea glass? I'm like, no, it can't be.
Heineken bottle?
Why would he be? Right? Is it a Heineken bottle? And then I'm like, and I could see that he's like freaking out, and I'm like, I think that might be an emerald. And in fact, as we sit here holding it in my hand now, this is a raw emerald.
Well, let me tell you a little bit about something here that's very exciting. Number one, the most desired mine or most desired emeralds in the world come from Colombia,
Yeah.
but a specific mine district called the Muso Mine District. We now know that these emeralds came from that district. The interesting thing is when Mel Fisher found the Atocha, nobody believed there were emeralds on there. To date, they have collected, I believe, a little over 7,000 emeralds to the tune of about 70 pounds. Okay, 100% contraband.
Well, that's like this. This is not
Yes.
on a manifest.
No.
This
No.
emerald's not sitting on a
Nobody
manifest.
believed were emeralds on there. We are now up to 170 emeralds. We have one that's 50 carat. We have one that estimated worth is almost $2 million. The one that's cut.
Right. So when you talk about this golden Madonna, and people go, "Wow, it wasn't on the manifest." I mean, this wasn't on the manifest.
Yes.
Lots of things weren't on the
And
manifest.
that's what I always come back with is, look, you know, you never know until you try.
That's right.
You know, and Mel Fisher had a saying that he used to say when he'd wake up, he'd say, "Today's the day,"
Right.
and his whole crew would repeat it. And you know, we've come into our own. I've got a lot of the same, you know, energy, the same people, type of people. Ours is right here, right now. When I yell out right here, they yell out, you know, right now. And this is hard what we do. You got a little taste of it. You know, the equipment, the people, the government, and then the weather. And it's hard to keep, you know, 14-hour days and digging holes all day long. Hard to keep people motivated. But when you find something like this, it's a great motivator, and it keeps people going. Oh my gosh, I want to find that next hole. I want to find that next hole.
And I got to say, and I'm not blowing smoke here, Carl. I got to say, like, I've been to a lot of operations where people are looking for, shipwrecks out in the ocean. A lot of them. What you're doing here is really special. I mean, the fact that you've founded this museum in the Bahamas, the fact that these materials aren't getting melted down and sold off. They're going on display for the Bahamas, for the people of the Bahamas and the visitors of the Bahamas.
Yes.
And the fact that you got archaeologists out here. Jim Sinclair is an old friend of mine out here. I was talking to Jim the other day. We were just geeking out over the pottery. Forget the emeralds and the gold. We're just geeking out over that stuff, So that makes this a totally different kind of enterprise. So I have to say I'm just so impressed with the whole thing. And for people who don't know, it's like, there's a lot of expensive equipment out here. There's subs, there's this, there's that. But the real operation are a bunch of guys that are on the bottom of the ocean for hours and hours a day, digging holes, coming up, changing tanks, going down, scratching their fingers, going through all this dead coral. I mean, it's really hard work. And to catalog all that, and, it's a ton of work. So I have to say, my hat's off to your crew and to what you're doing out here. It's really cool.
Yeah, well, we are. I think. Thank you for all that. But we are very different. I knew when the Prime Minister gave us this kind of responsibility that we had to do it right. Not one artifact has left this country out of those eight to 10,000, however you want to put it.
Except for the gold chain that you gave me.
Except for that one's leaving this afternoon. But
except for clear on that.
We've 80% of the people you saw out there are Bahamians.
Yeah.
I've got a bunch of employees down around the museum, so here at Walker's and stuff. But okay, listen, I want to finish up because we are not only now friends and compadres here, but we're brethren. We now are both members of the Explorers Club in New York, and you helped me get in there, and we met last year at the dinner, and I was just so incredibly impressed with the people I met, and we sat down at that dinner and said, well, you ought to think about joining, and now I am. And so if you could tell a little bit about what that's about and the Explorers Club that people don't know what it is.
People hear the name the Explorers Club and they kind of laugh. They go, is that a real thing? It sounds like some goofy, like, what is that? Yeah. And it is a real deal thing. It's an organization. It was founded in New York in the early 1900s, mostly by a group of explorers. A lot of polar explorers were early members of the club. And it is a meeting place, a gathering point, a place to share research and ideas, and to celebrate field science and exploration.
Yes.
And the members of this club are like the most interesting, accomplished people in the world. Sir Edmund Hillary was the club president, first man up Everest, obviously. Yeah. We've got astronauts. One of the Explorers Club flags, for people who don't know, there are these expedition flags that will go out on expeditions and come back to the club. Armstrong brought one to the moon in Apollo 11 in the sleeve of his uniform.
Teddy Roosevelt.
Teddy Roosevelt was a member. We were looking at his application the other night.
Oh, was that? I mean, you got to tell that.
Oh, it's amazing. So they have in the archives of the Explorers Club Teddy Roosevelt's actual application, right? And so, I mean, like they're making him fill out the paperwork, right? And so it says, qualifications. Yeah. And he writes down, he was the head of the Navy,
Secretary of the Navy, President of the United States.
Yeah, President of the United States.
Founder of National Parks.
Head of the Rough Riders. It's like, I think you're in.
Oh, my God.
But that's the formality, right? I mean, and his list of people who are recommending him on the application include Robert Peary, one of the first explorer up to the North Pole. So, I mean, this is a really prestigious organization, and I'm so glad that we got to get linked up at the dinner there last year. And these are people that are doing unbelievable work. These are people working on Mars rovers and conservation of animals and,
How long have you been a member?
Been a member for over a decade now.
Have you?
Yeah. And I have to say, I'm just so, every time I go there, I meet someone who's doing something that just, cracks my head open. It's just amazing.
Think of a couple of those. What do you think is one of them? I mean, I know some of the seminars that we had, the luncheon about the Everest climb and all that, but what's one of your favorite things that we can look forward to?
How about these guys last year that found the Endurance Shackleton ship in the Antarctic? If anyone hasn't seen the video, the ship is just sitting there with the word Endurance. I mean, one of the last great shipwrecks from the modern age to be found, and really, maybe the greatest survival story in the history of exploration.
Well, it had some advantages there. One is deep.
Yeah.
It's cold water, not a lot of worms.
Yeah.
But that, drone or whatever it was coming up and seeing the Endurance. What was weird for me is I had just read the book last year.
Yeah.
And thinking, oh, they'll never find that. And I turned on the news one morning. Oh my God, they found it.
Yep.
And then to go and that seminar at lunch was fantastic.
Yeah. So I mean, this is an organization that's just doing awesome stuff, and so I their members are not just pushing boundaries and making new discoveries, which they are, but there's just a huge effort there also for conservation, for protecting the natural world, for celebrating science, and I love that. So.
All right. Security, can we get this chain here, please?
I almost got it.
Sorry, Josh.
I almost got it out of here.
Get that emerald.
Yeah.
But look at this. I mean, this is just a tiny piece of what we have here, and isn't that just? I'm shivering just being here looking at that. And
I mean, all these items, like take the coin. Somebody went and mined that silver. Somebody made that coin. Somebody held that coin. Somebody probably died on the Maravillas carrying that coin.
A lot of Indians died. Yeah.
Yeah, and so. This one coin here, think about how many lives this touched before it got into our hands right here. Yeah. And that's a big part of what's happening out here is you are telling a story that the ocean consumed, 300 plus years ago and piece by piece by piece, bringing it back to life.
Well, I can't not wait for the episode. I mean, it's going to be so
that's gonna be great.
Incredible to watch you and being here and us together. And boy, I really hope that you come back. I do hope we can do this again.
Hope I come back. You're not gonna be able to get rid of me.
Yeah, that's what
I'm not leaving.
So
I'm not sure if you're aware. I've permanently moved in to my stateroom downstairs.
You asked me for a few jobs here, but I think you're off to somewhere in the nowhere.
No,
land.
I'm staying here,
staying.
Carl.
See,
you've been misinformed.
All right, never mind. Security. All right, sir. Well, wonderful. Thanks for everything.
Thank you for everything.
We'll see you at the dinner.
Yeah, and by the way, we're not that far away. You find something out here, we could be back in a hurry. So I have to say I'm thrilled at the prospect of coming back and seeing more of what you find out here. Yeah. And keep up the great work.
Well, the last thing, one of the coolest things was watching you film that little deal you did for your kids.
Oh, yeah.
Subs. I hope they like that, and maybe we'll get them in the
Hey,
sub.
if Daddy's in a submarine, you got to send a video.
Yes, that's right.
You got to.
I said, don't they think you're famous? He said, everybody's on TV. You're on your
phone.
Yeah,
they don't know. I mean, everyone's on a screen.
They just
the
think,
grandparents are on the
Dad's
phone.
on TV. Big deal.
Yeah, that's why I got to try to brag about a submarine. I need something.
Bring something home.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, great. Thanks again for everything, and see you next time.
All the best.
Excellent.